Hello you, it's me. Today we're going to talk about The Last Graduate, which is the second book in Naomi Novik's Scholomance series. I think this is going to be a trilogy. The ending of this one really left it open to continue. I'm going to talk about plot, review, things I did and didn't like will probably be mixed in with the review for this one, but there will be some bits marked on the time bar. Feel free to click around. This is set in a world where magic exists, both in the form of mana, a power generated over time through the effort and will of a magic user, or malia, which uses life force of yourself or others as a power source. People are born with a tendency and a natural ability towards one of the two. Some are able to balance both, but being born with the ability to use magic at all attracts maleficaria, a huge variety of deadly creatures that non-magical people are completely safe from, but who want to hunt you down and eat you and feed off your magic. To prepare their children for a life in which these maleficaria are a constant threat, the skilled, wealthy magic users from around the world pooled their resources together to create the Scholomance. Students are shut in the school for 4 years to cram their brains full of the rare and valuable spells that the semi-aware, teacherless, fickle, unpredictable school chooses to bestow upon each student before graduation. The school is built as a series of ring dormitories. Every year they click down and the class at the bottom is dumped out into the graduation hall, which is invariably crawling with maleficaria, having been attracted by the highest concentration of delicious students anywhere in the world. Graduation thins the herd, weeds out the weak, and each death and failure allows another student to live, with a better chance to escape. But last year, our main character, Elle, helped repair the machinery in the hall that usually keep maleficaria out, temporarily, allowing for a record number graduation. And as she patrols the halls and the school with her graduation team, trying to keep the numbers of these monsters down, the school starts to throw more and more trials at the students, almost as if it's deliberately trying to kill them. And the big beasts outside the school gate haven't eaten now in over a year. Book 1, while I thought was really good, such an amazing premise, was very difficult to read for me because of how info-dumpy it was at times. I maintain that it felt like Novik had come up with this insanely good world build and was like, here, let me show you this world build. Everybody look at my world build. Look how good my world build is. Let me explain every facet of it in tiny detail for you. I feel like now, though, that the world build has been established, and it's something we're at least somewhat familiar with, we can settle down and start enjoying an actual story. This one felt much less disjointed than the first book for that reason. Elle has changed since book 1. I don't know if that's a result of me getting more familiar with her or the way she's written having changed. It felt like she was angry all the time in book 1. It felt like every conversation was a confrontation. But that's toned down here, and it could be just because she's growing more comfy with the people around her, or it could be that the instances of outburst have been made fewer so that when they do happen, we're more likely to feel like it's justified as a reader, and it has more impact. I don't know. Unfortunately, one symptom of the world building being finished is that Elle's friends were part of it, and now that that's all done, they are very much pushed to the side. With a magic school novel, you really do get the opportunity to build a memorable cast of characters. And problematic stuff aside, that is one thing that J.K. Rowling did do very successfully. This book, however, felt to me like Elle and Orion and everybody else just somewhere over there. I thought there was a little bit more in terms of description of the maleficaria in this book, but my comments from book 1 still stand on that. It explains how the world works in painstaking detail, but it will throw mal names in as if we are supposed to be familiar with them and know them already, giving us zero physical description of them at all. I could get not giving us the full details of the world build, not giving us full details of the mals, and then having us piece it together as we go along, but doing one and not the other felt a little bit weird to me. And I know that with the physical descriptions of monsters, of interesting magical things, Novik can do it. I've seen Novik do it in other series. You've made very juicy, interesting things, and you have helped me in other books build a really beautiful image in my head. One thing I do love about this world build is the school gives you spells and magic to use to learn, and it's totally based on the languages that you know. So immersing yourself in the history of other cultures is something that really gives you a better chance at surviving at the school. It's a really good basis for a world build in which you get to actually teach people interesting things about other cultures in a way that won't feel like an info dump or that you're ticking boxes. I feel like potentially it's something Novik could do in this novel a lot more than they do. But as the base part of an idea, it's a really good one, and I like it. I think overall the way that Novik has made magic slot into a non-magical world is interesting, it's believable. Weirdly, I'm still not 100% sure whether in this world build, non magical people are aware of magic's existence. I don't know if it's ever explicitly said. I get the impression that some believe, some dismiss it as hocus pocus, but mainly they're not aware. I'm really not sure. Now that Elle has a better hold on her magic and what that magic does, and she gets more free reign to actually use the magic, something I'll come back to in a bit. The action sequences in this book are really well written. They're a lot more interesting than they were in book one. And because they're quite frequent, they do make this book a really fast read. There's a lot more physically going on here. And in those sequences, many of which are trials set for the students by the school, you really do start to understand what a dangerous machine they are all trapped inside of. There is this continuing theme from book one of not being who society expects you to be. Mal-users are considered evil because of this tendency to draw on the life force of the people around them and damage them, but Elle really strives to break that stereotype. But the book has her choosing one path and then circumstance forces her down another path, so you're still, at the end of book two, really not sure where she's going to go. At one point in the story, there is an influx of new students for the next year intake, and with that there's also this influx of news from outside. The students live in a completely insular environment, and this is the only time they get during the year to figure out and find out what's going on outside the Scholomance. This is really interesting because outside rivalries and events suddenly come between students who were up to this point totally fine working together being best buddies, and their life inside the school becomes a microcosm reflection of the world outside, but filtered through word of mouth that may not necessarily be true. Is this representative of how communities can be fractured through censorship and selective information availability? But all this allows for the message of overcoming this as a community, working together on something more important than trying to one-up people around you when you're all facing the same problems. The focus of this book, in my opinion, was social contrast and the social divide between advantaged and disadvantaged people. Outside to benefit from protection and spellcasting ability and warding, group mana reserves. Magic users have built these things called enclaves. They're these really exclusive fortress type things that you either have to be born into, selected into, or buy your way into. Backed by enclaves, children from very rich families are sent to the school with high-grade artifacts. They're just better prepared. They have access to the mana pools back home outside the school. They don't have to work as hard. They rise through the ranks through social connection and family history. And it's through this sort of thing that Elle finally gets the ability to demonstrate the full capacity of what she is capable of, only after having been deemed useful by somebody else, which is kind of commentary as well. But it's hammering this idea that so many people's full ability is just never realised in society because they don't have the head start that other people do. This book didn't feel like it was written to tell me that message. It doesn't feel like it had an ulterior motive or an agenda. It felt like a demonstration of how inbuilt this kind of mindset is into human society, that it would even carry over into a fantasy society. Couple of spoiler bits. I'm interested to see how going forward, this is all spoilers by the way, like get out of here. I'm interested to see how going forward the series remains with the school at the centre, considering the next book will probably not be set in the school. I think the next one would be really interesting if it was split POV. I don't think it will because that would make it a different format than the two that came before it, but I think that could be so good. I feel like I'm going to be mad if Elle's story ends up being a carbon copy of her mum's story, which you'll know if you read book one. Her mum and dad was slept together one time before they left the school, and then her dad got eaten by a mal on the way out. I'm hoping it will flip that and be sort of, I am not defined by who came before me. I am not following in the footsteps of my parents. My choices are my own. We'll see. Anyway, this book was better than number one. It was much easier to read than number one. I'm going to give this a high 3-star, low 4-star, which averages out at a 4-star. I'm really interested to see how this wraps up. I think it would be a struggle continuing in this world for more than 3 books. So I can't wait for a tidy end and closure. So thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to follow me on Goodreads and Twitter. That will be linked down below. Don't forget to, if you like sci-fi, join our Interstellar Book Club. The Discord link will be linked down below for that as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe. More reviews coming soon. I read pretty quick. I'll see you soon for the next one. Bye.